Hi everyone, my name is Shauna. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you my April wrap up. So to start off, I was actually thinking of starting with the couple books that I started this month but didn't finish, and then I'll get into the books that I completed this month. I was kind of in two minds with these types of videos, with wrap-ups versus like TBR videos, because I'm very much a mood reader. So I find that when I look back at all of my like TBR videos, my monthly ones, and then I look at my wrap-ups, I'm like, these two do not match. Is that problematic to me? Not really, but kind of. I don't know. It's one of those like irksome things where it's like I kind of set myself up for reading X amount of books in certain genres by certain people, whatever. And then when I don't meet that kind of goal or expectation, I'm a little bit kind of disappointed in myself, which I don't love, especially around reading. I want it to be open. I want it to be very, very what I want to read in the moment and not what I'm forcing myself to read for the sake of it. So I do have to remember that, but I finally decided I am going to do a monthly wrap up. This is my first one, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm ready to rumble. So I will say, to start off, this month I picked up Complex PTSD: From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. This is a book all about CPTSD, or complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is trauma that happens in your developmental years. So usually when you're a child or a young adult, you experience repeated physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, or sexual abuse. Um, that impacts your learning patterns and your learning kind of habits going forward into adulthood. It is very much a learned thing. It is not intrinsic. It is not in your genes. It is learned. So yeah, I'm reading a book about this. It's good. I think it's a little bit heavy and dense at times. You could very much read this as like a textbook, but other than that, I'm looking forward to reading more. I only managed to get about 100 pages in this month, so more to come in May. And the other book I read, which I will put here, is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is kind of like a Sherlock Holmes and Watson style story, but it's set in a fantasy world where there are leviathans. There are giants that basically attack walled cities, and within these walled cities it's set up within kind of a hierarchy, so everyone has a job to do, everyone has a role to play, and we're following our two characters who deal with crimes, who solve murders, who solve mysteries. And so you have Anna Delabra and you have Dinius Cole. Dinius Cole is an engraver, so he has a perfect memory. He remembers everything that he has seen and he has observed, and he then passes it on to his lead investigator, who is Anna, who is very eccentric, who is always wearing a blindfold. She never leaves her house, even though she's an investigator to crimes. They have a very weird and wacky relationship, and they're trying to solve a very weird and wacky crime of people being killed by a contagion that makes them sprout whole trees from their bodies. It's really good. It is like probably a 5-star prediction for me. It's my first Robert Jackson Bennett book to date, and it is phenomenal. I love every second of it. I'm currently listening to it on audio. The audio narrator is so good. I'm loving it. Honestly, I'm saying it now, it's probably going to be a 5-star read for me. I'll leave it at that. So the books that I actually completed this month, the first one was The Girls by Emma Cline. This is a book set in the kind of end of the 60s, early 70s, and we follow specifically one character, Evie, as she falls into a not so great group of girls and boys who are essentially in a cult. So she falls in with this group because she's in a very kind of transitional period in her life as a young teenager. She's kind of stepping away from her parents. She doesn't really know what to do with herself. So in the summer, she meets up with these girls and these people who are led by a very eccentric man, and she falls into some of the things that they're doing. It is weird and wacky and dark and gross and uncomfortable, and there's definitely some weird stuff around like susceptibility of women to like men's manipulations and like certain like women desire attention kind of mentality to this book that I didn't necessarily love, but I saw what the author was trying to do. I really like Emma Cline's writing. I've read her short story collection called Daddy, and it was really, really good. So like Her writing style is really entertaining. It's very gripping. It's very engaging. You just keep turning the pages. But there were some like weird, I don't know, weird I don't know, women things in this book that were like, do we all crave attention from men? I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, it was good. It was solid. It was entertaining. It was really grungy and gritty, and I liked it. It was like a 3.75 stars for me. It was entertaining enough. I enjoyed it, and I would definitely read more by Emma Cline because, like I said, her writing style is really good. The content of this book maybe just wasn't a hit for me the whole time. The next book I read was The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. So, this is a graphic novel. The Moth Keeper is a very important position within this community, within this world. They have a lot of value, these moths, because they pollinate a certain tree that this community relies on. And so, you follow our main character here, who is Tanya, who looks after the moss, who has taken on this role and responsibility, who starts to kind of question it, who starts to have kind of doubts, who kind of has to experience a lot of loneliness with this book because this is a very singular position. There is only one moth keeper, the moth keeper. So yeah, we deal with a lot of heavy stuff in this, loneliness versus kind of being alone. Friendship is explored with this, romance is explored with this, coming of age, parental neglect. Like there's all sorts in this book. And also, oh, it is so pretty. The art style is really pretty. But yeah, I really like this book. And Kay O'Neill, you probably know from the Tea Dragon, the Tea Dragon Society series. And that's definitely going to be the next one that I read because I found this to be really lovely. I rated that book 4 out of 5 stars. I'll try to be good about my ratings. I feel like I'm kind of forgetful, but we'll see. I have The Mountain in the Sea by Ray Noller. I read this book for Buzzwordathon from Books and Lala. This April was kind of like nature-based words or like planet, kind of nature. So I went with mountain and sea. I've talked about this book in a previous video. This was a 5-star read for me. This was phenomenal. I loved this. This was about interspecies communication and intelligent creatures, i.e., the octopus. It was really good. It's set in the near future. You follow actually multiple POVs, which I found to be a pleasant surprise to this book. I thought you were just following one character within this world who dealt with this creature kind of one-on-one. That's not the case. You follow multiple people through multiple threads that do intersect. Very entertaining, really gripping. The interspecies communication thing was like the coolest concept. I cannot wait to read more books like this. Ray Noller writes a lot of short stories, but I think this is his only novel to date. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I would absolutely love to read more by this author. Very entertaining. It's exactly what I said. Interspecies, octopus, intelligent. What are they doing? What do they know? Should we be learning from them? What can we learn from them? Very cool creatures. And also, I'm obsessed with octopuses now. So, next I read Conversations on Love by Natasha Lunn. Lovers, strangers, parents, friends, endings, beginnings. It is a collection of essays, interview questions asked by Natasha Lunn to a multitude of authors and writers and intellects around the topic of love. It was nice. I found the interview style a little bit flat at times. Natasha Lunn intersperses this kind of story, this style of storytelling with her own personal reflections, because she talks about, well, obviously, dating, falling in love, falling out of love, breakups. She had struggled to conceive her first child with her husband, their kind of difficulties, the miscarriage that she had. All of those things are explored not in an interview style, and I found them beautiful. They flowed really well. It was really lovely writing. But the interview style I found could be a little bit disconnected because there's so many people and there's so many different questions. It's like Natasha Lunn doesn't ask the same question to every single person, except for what do you wish you had, known about love when you were younger. That's the only one that she repeats. Everything else is like new and fresh and very based on the person. So I don't know. I find that format can be a little bit flat at times, or it can be flat when repeated so often. But otherwise, it was a really pretty book. It was lovely. And I think the topic itself is really nice. I know there's another one by like Dolly Alderton who does one like Everything I Know About Love or something. Also curious to read about that because I do have one of her other books and she was a really good writer. But yeah, it was very good. I don't usually rate nonfiction books, I should say. So I read it, I enjoyed it, and I would definitely consider reading more by this author. And the last of my physical books before I get into my kind of other formats is Ghosts by Dolly Alderton, who I just mentioned. So this is my first Dolly Alderton book. It was good. It was very solid. It was very entertaining. I had a friend who read this book and was like ranting and raving about this. That this book is the best book ever. This is the most amazing book ever. I rated it, I think, like 4 out of 5. Like it was so solid. There were parts in this book that I audibly laughed at, like out loud in my house. It was so entertaining. It was so fun. It was so like, I don't know, just like it felt very real. Like it felt very, very real to what this story was about, which is a girl, a woman, who's in her young 30s, who's experiencing a multitude of different things within her personal life, her professional life, her family life. Friends are getting married, friends are now having babies, certain friends aren't having babies. Folks are, focusing on their career. She's trying to be a writer. She was, semi-successful with her first book, but now her next one isn't doing so well and she's having struggles with it. She starts dating and finds the man of her dreams, and then he ghosts her. And she has absolutely no idea why. Her family life is in shambles. Her father is dealing with Alzheimer's. Everything under the sun that's happening felt very, very real and just like you can only take so much at one time before you're like, man, being a human is tough. I am tired. So I like this book. I felt it was very real. I felt it was very accurate. I personally am kind of in my late 20s, coming into my 30s now. So I didn't necessarily always connect with certain things, but I could definitely see how I would in a few years from now, as a lot of my friends are currently getting married within the next like few years. So like I do see the connection. I think that if I read this book, say 5 or 6 years from now, I would connect with it even more. So very enjoyable. And I will definitely be reading more by her because her writing was really nice. Now to talk about the books that I had taken up from the library, as well as just kind of like different formats, so I don't physically own them. One is Hooky, Volume 3 by Miriam Bonistrade Tar, I believe her name is. It was great. I'm not going to go too much of a synopsis into this one because this is the third volume. This is the final. This is like the last book in the series. It was good graphic novel series, YA. You follow a twin brother and sister as they essentially miss the school bus to their magical witch school. And adventures ensue. They go on a wild adventure. They meet so many people, they make friends, they have issues, they have to fight back. It's all of those things and more. It's really, really good. I loved it. But I will say there's pacing things that were really weird because this is a webtoon comic turned graphic novel. And I think because of that, it did get a little odd at points because it's like you could see where natural breaks in the story would be between when these like webtoon comics would be released versus just like flipping the page and being like, and we're back. Like that was the only thing I found a little bit odd. It was like the formatting of this graphic novel compared to like a webtoon series. But otherwise, very entertaining. I think I rated this last one like 4.25. Like it was really, really good conclusion to the series. Next up is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. Danielle L. Jensen I've read from before. I read the Trader Queen. I'm going to turn around because it's literally behind my head. Where is it? Yeah, The Bridge Kingdom and The Trader Queen. I loved those books. Those books were so entertaining. This book, for me, I could tell what Danielle was trying to do with like very different, like this is Vikings, this is Norse mythology, this is a girl who has a certain power. She is the shield maiden, she has certain abilities. Some people have abilities, some people don't. You follow her as she essentially tries to join this war band. She does, but not necessarily in the way you think she does. All sorts of things happen, but I found this book, it was so long. It would be like we'd go here, then we'd have to go back, then we'd go here and we'd have a fight, and then we would leave here, and then we would go here and we'd have to go back, and then we'd go here and have a conversation. Like it just kept going and going and going. And I think if this book had been cut off and made a little bit more concise as a first book, introducing it as a series, I would have been down. But this book felt like it should have been a standalone. It should have been done. It was so big. It was so long. Anyway, it's one of the by the way, for context, this book is like Danielle Jensen writes like spicy kind of books, like new adult books. Those elements were great. They were entertaining, they were fun, they were gripping, all of those good things. And her writing is like it will flow. You will enjoy it. You will go through the story, but it was so long. It was too long. The pacing was just so like, yep, yep, yep. So no, for me, it was like a 2.5, 2.75. Like I said, I really like Danielle's writing. I think it's good. I think it's entertaining. I think this book was just a little bit too much ambition for this first one, for my liking. If I had read it maybe like a few years ago, maybe I would have been all over it. But right now, I was like, just get on with it. Just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Next, I have Falling Back in Love with Being Human by Kai Chang Tom, if I'm saying their name right. This was like a collection of essays and poems about exactly that, being a human being, being a human, being a person, being a being. It was really good. I really liked it. It was very, very beautiful writing. I found that it offered these little tidbits after each poem of like an actual action or like a reflection that you could do in your life. Like, go outside and stare at the clouds, write a love letter to somebody and burn it. Like there were these like really, really lovely, just like real tangible things that you could do to reflect on your own life in connection to the poems and the essays. They're really good. I loved them a lot. It was a really, really pretty collection. And I would definitely read more by this author because it was just really, really nice. And I was going to say last but not least, I think this is last. I have this poetry collection. I don't know the full name of it. I'm just going to say poetry collection, poems, etc. Poetry collection by Maya Angelou. This was so good. Oh my God. Maya Angelou, how somehow, some way, this is my first ever reading of her. Every other poem that I read in this collection was like, yep, love. Yep. Oh my God, love. Yes, it was so, they were so, 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 so beautifully written. I will say just a few that are like some of my favorites in this collection if folks do feel so inclined to go out and get a copy of it from your library, buy it, whatever. It's just really, really good. So some of the pieces that I loved were My Guilt, On Working White Liberals, Chicken Licken, Still I Rise, Phenomenal Woman, Take Time Out, The Last Decision, Picking 'em Up and Laying 'em Down, The Detached, Woman Work. Okay, now I'll stop. I have to stop at some point because, like, it was literally such a good collection. Again, I don't rate nonfiction usually. I don't really find it's very representative because there's such a spread of what that looks like. But it was such a beautiful collection of poems, and I can't wait to read more by Maya this year. But that is me in a nutshell. All of the books that I read this month. It was definitely good. I have, like, some years I have read very, very, very few, like, 5-star books. And this month alone, I think in April, I've read one for sure. And then I got like 80% done, The Tainted Cup, which I think is going to be a 5-star. So, like, it was actually really good. April was really, really solid for me. But yeah, no, I'm going to leave it there. This is my April wrap up, and I look forward to giving you another video soon. Most likely my May TBR. But yeah, no, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.